My name is Will. I'm one of the pastors at Genesis, the church that shares this space with you. I'm grateful to share this space with you. It's good to be with you this morning in this way, and a great word that I hope bless you. So, about our church is all 20-somethings almost. So earlier I said, just a little while ago, and then I realized that it was 10 years ago, and half the room is, I'm pushing 40, so that's just a little while ago now. And half the room was thinking, oh, so you mean like a really long time ago? So about 10 years ago, I have a friend named Josiah who went with his dad to a guy's property, and probably like 10 acres, and it was just unworked grass and field, and they went back to the back corner of the property, and there was an old Ford Mustang that had been sitting back there for decades. It was in the kind of shape that they had to get a flatbed tow truck back there, get it up on top of the flatbed, and have the tow truck take it to his house. And my friend Josiah and his dad spent the next couple years piece by piece remaking that car. They pulled the seats out, and it was obvious the upholstery was bad, so they stripped all that off, and once they did that, they saw that all the padding inside was bad too, there were rat's nests and stuff like that in it. So they pulled all that out, and put all new padding and all new upholstery, and put the seats back in. And then, the car obviously didn't drive, but if they could have driven it, as they would have driven, and looking down, you would have just seen the street passing along beside you, because the floorboard was so rusted out. So they had to tear all of that out and put a new floorboard in. The engine didn't work, so they had to pull the engine out, put a whole new engine in. When they got in and looked at the gas tank, there was so much gunk in there, so corroded that you couldn't even clean it out. They had to take that, throw it away, get a whole new gas tank and put it in. New transmission, hose after hose after hose, wire after wire after wire. The original color, they think, was some kind of light blue. They don't know, but they sanded all of that down and painted it cherry red. And when they finally got done, after years of work, drove the car down my street, parked in front of my house, and when I came out and looked at that thing, I had a weird sense. When you look at something like that, you get a weird sense and can ask, is this an old car or is this a new car? There's something shiny and new. There's about the character of the thing that has been renewed. And so in that sense, it's like a whole new car, but at the same time, you could very well go post it on a classic car's website, or take it to a classic car show, and you can get the old classic car license plate. Is it an old car, or is it a new car? When the prophecy that we read this morning from the book of Jeremiah comes to Israel's people, in some ways, my brain, when I started studying the text for this week, couldn't help but go to the story of Josiah's car sitting in the back of that guy's field. Because when the word of the Lord comes to God's people through the prophet Jeremiah at this point, it's like their story had hit a place where they're the car in the back of that old field, in a place where they're just rusted out, broken down, burned out, done, and there's nothing about their circumstances to make them think it's going to be okay. Without some kind of outside help, without some kind of work being done to them, this is the end of the line. There had been a whole season with them where, because of God's covenant, it seemed like we can count on this pattern of God comes and does something powerful, and then we kind of hit a bad spot, but then God comes and does something powerful, and it's good again, and then we hit a bad spot, but then God always comes and does something powerful, and so you start to get used to this, and start to think that this is just how it's going to be until they get exiled. The covenant starts when God comes and rescues them from slavery in Egypt and takes them to Mount Sinai. And there, the people are gathered around the mountain, and they see the presence of God come down, and there's smoke, and there's fire, and there's this mountain. I've been taken by this for about 5 years now, the image of the mountain shaking. Because when you want to talk about stability and dependability and strength, you think about a mountain. We have a company called Prudential that's all about financial strength and dependability, and their logo is a mountain. So one of our best images of unchangeableness, of unmovableness is a mountain, but when God shows up, the mountain shakes. And there's fire and there's smoke, and they see Moses go up and talk with God. And there's something that happens there that so intensely that when Moses comes back, his face is glowing. And it freaks everybody out. And he's got to wear a veil over his face because, that's tricky. And when if Father Colin comes down to give you the Eucharist and he turns around and his face is glowing, you're going to come with a little bit more reverence, or you're just going to run out the back door, right? They saw this kind of stuff happen. But even in the middle of it, they've just been rescued. This kind of stuff is going on, but in the middle of it, they start worshiping a golden calf. Because it's a little bit safer. But not in the long run. And then a little bit later, they're out in the wilderness, and God's miraculously providing for them. They're in the middle of eating bread from heaven, and they start complaining about having nothing to eat. And then a little bit later, they're brought to the promised land, but they fail to trust God, and so they end up wandering for 40 years in the wilderness. But God stays faithful, and then they mess up, and it gets bad. Then God does something powerful again, and then we get to the book of Judges. And they turn their back on God's covenant and on God's law that was given to them at Sinai. And this leads to terrible, terrible things happening in their land. And God sends a judge that comes and cleans things up and makes things better for a little while. But it's not long until another generation. They just do the same kind of things, turn their back on the covenant. It gets worse and worse. And it ends up even in places like God's people are offering child sacrifice. But God sends a judge, and they work powerfully, and they're imperfect, weird people. Like, just read the story. Samson, he's both God's instrument and half a step from a total idiot. But God does something incredible through all these people over and over and over again to make things right for them. And it starts to get to where maybe you think we can just take this pattern for granted until you hit exile. And then one after one, these large foreign empires come in and just decimate their whole way of life, take them away to foreign lands, and there's like nothing left. This isn't just like, if you think about a field, we had the harvest, and it was pretty good, but now it's not in season, but we can trust the next year there'll be another harvest. And now we're really great, we're in a tough spot, but again there'll be a harvest. Now they're in a season in exile where it's like scorched earth, and you don't think there's any hope in your field ever producing anything again. This is the kind of place they're in. And it's in this season that God comes and gives them the most powerful, the most hopeful, the most incredible promises that they have ever received to date. In the middle of this kind of hopelessness, when they look around thinking, there's nothing about my present circumstances that would make me think that if we just work hard enough, if we just keep at it, then it's going to be okay. But here in the middle of it, God comes and says, there's coming a day when I'm going to write a new covenant. I'm going to make a new covenant with my people. It won't be like the old, because I'm going to write it on their hearts. They won't teach each other, because they'll just know me in a different kind of way. It'll be in them, on their DNA, not just on some stone tablets. And here, Yahweh comes and promises a new covenant. That word new caught my attention. And the power of a word is how it's used. So, if I'm sitting at the table with my kids, and one of my kids, I don't know, if in some crazy wacko world, one of my kids goes to spill a drink or something. And my kid knocks over the drink. And as that's happening, my wife reaches out and catches my cup. And I say, oh, thanks, you saved my cup. The word saved there, what kind of power does that have? I go, oh, it's nice. I don't have to clean up some water and go fill my cup again. That's nice. But if the story is this, the God of the whole universe took on flesh, humbled himself, emptied himself, and became one of us, and lived amongst us. Breathed the air we breathe, loved like we loved, heard like we heard, spent every single moment of every single day fully identifying with us, and even going to the point of dying our death. To undo it from the inside, to make a way through, and then God raised him from the dead, to give hope beyond all hope, that if we follow him, that is the exact same thing that God will do for us, and that is our salvation. Well, now the word saved has some power, doesn't it? So the word new, we use it all the time. Especially us North Americans who grew up in a Western culture, we idolize the new. And so everything that's new is awesome. It's brand new, it's brand new. I mean, just pay attention going through the grocery store. How often advertisers just stamp the word new on something that it doesn't matter a bit. But they put new on the bottle and suddenly, it becomes attractive to us. But you look throughout the Old Testament, how this word new, I think I'm saying it kind of okay. Chadash, something like that. Like, I'm no Hebrew scholar. I'm pretty sure you got to get that thing in the back of the throat going so that it's somewhere in the realm of Chadash. This word, how it's used over and over again. In Exodus 1, it's used to talk about a new king. So a new king has come to the throne. A new Pharaoh has ascended to the throne in Egypt. And think about that scenario, how that word is being used. We're not talking about, here's a king that it doesn't seem like it paid all that much attention in his political science classes, doesn't seem to understand how power works and how you have to, work the people in certain ways, and maybe just a little bit immature. So we just take the king aside for a while, let the other administrators run the country in actuality for a couple of years. They have a good mentor, teaching some things, so then he comes back and it's like a new person. It's not that kind of scenario. It is a new person. It is not the same man on the throne, but yet you still recognize that that's the king. So where's the continuity in that? There's the king, and there's still a king, and there's still, but each one is a totally different person. That kind of newness. In Deuteronomy 20, it's about a new house that has been built, a brand new structure. So somebody can come upon that land and look at a new structure that has never been there before, and there's no confusion about what it is. No one's going, is it a sports bar? Is it a massage parlor? They know from looking at it. They recognize the form, the character of the building. It was never there before. You just look at it and you know that's a house. It's just like here in North Park. You don't walk up on these new condos that they're building over there and go, is this a new bar? Is this where Wayne's is going to be now? I really wish Wayne's would come back. I don't want to Target. There's no confusion about this. You know right off that. You can look at the thing, even though it's brand new, you know what it is. That's a house. That's how this word, chadash, is used, a new house. It's not talking about extreme home makeover stuff, where you go in and board by board rip out the walls and put one new on there and remake it. It's a new house that has not been there before, and you recognize exactly what it is. In Joshua chapter 9 and in Judges chapter 15, it talks respectively about new wineskins and new robes. This isn't new technology that has never been seen before. It's not like somebody went off into their lab for a couple months, dreamed something up, came out with this new thing that nobody has ever seen before. Nobody's going, what's that thing? I don't know. I saw it in my brain, so I made it. Maybe we can put wine in it. It's not that. It's a wineskin. You see it and you know it. Just like if you go to Big Five Sporting Goods or an REI and you see a canteen, it may be a brand new canteen. It was just off the manufacturing plant, just out of the manufacturing plant. It didn't exist a month ago, but now it exists. It's new. But you know exactly what it is. It's a canteen. And are canteens anything new? No, they've been around for time. Rope, same thing. No one's going, what is that thing? What's a rope? I know what it is. They've been around forever, but that's a new one. In Leviticus 26, it's used to talk about the offering that you bring to the temple. So when they would bring grain offerings, each time, it's a whole new offering. It's not the same bits of grain. Those got burned up. Those aren't around anymore. It's all new grain. But it's the same offering every single time. Just like when you drop your gift in the plate. Sometimes it could be a check. Sometimes it could be money. Sometimes you get cash. Sometimes you give a little bit. Sometimes you give a lot. All kinds of differences. No one is exactly the same, but yet it's still, every time, the same thing. Your offering. We struggle with this. At least I do. I struggle with this, and us with a more Western bent to our minds struggle with this because we think so linearly and so logically. We think we can explain everything by thinking about it like dominoes in a chain, where you just tip off one domino, that makes this happen, it makes this happen, it makes this happen, it makes this happen. Which explains some things, but it doesn't explain everything. But those of us whose minds have been shaped like mine, it trips us up. So when I hear this passage about a new covenant, of course it goes right to that Mustang that my friend Josiah remade. And I don't think that's wrong. There's an element of that. That's part of it. But it does not give the full picture of what the gospel is promising us this morning. The gospel is inviting us to think about a different kind of newness that leads to a much fuller hope. A much more transcendent kind of reality in salvation. So, when the promise comes in Jeremiah, it comes as the second one in a string of 3 sayings about a certain day coming. So thus says the Lord, a day is coming when? Thus says the Lord, a day is coming when? Thus says the Lord, a day is coming when? 3 times. Ours is the second one, the one right in the middle, like a sandwich. And the first one was, the day is coming when I will sow, and they will build and plant without fruitlessness. 2 things going on there. 1, exile is a time where why try anymore? Why keep showing up for worship? Why keep praying? It's a time where they were facing very real threats. Like Daniel, you pray, you might get thrown in this den with some hungry lions. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which by the way, there's an indication, that's not their name. Their names were Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. which were names pointing to Israel's God, all referencing Yahweh. But when they're taken to that foreign land, they give them new names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which point to Babylonian gods, stripped of their identity, treated like slaves, to the point where those who now own them can say, even your identity is mine. And your identity is no longer rooted in your customs, your ways, your God. Your identity is now rooted in our customs, our ways, and our gods. And if you continue to keep praying to your God and bowing down to your God instead of ours, we're going to throw you in this big fiery furnace. So why try? It's fruitless. It's pointless. There's nothing about the way things are that makes me think if we can just stay hopeful and faithful long enough, it's going to be okay. But God's saying a day is coming when it will not be fruitless, where your labor will not seem hopeless. Secondly, to make that promise brings in the image of a seed. I will sow, and then you'll build and plant. In Leviticus, the same word for new we're looking at, kadash, is used for the grain that comes each year, the harvest of wheat. So think about the newness of wheat that comes every season, each harvest. Is any one single kernel the same kernel that came before? It's totally new. It's totally unique. But is it the same thing? Yeah. You look at it and you know that's wheat. You don't suddenly have bananas or Sasquatch, thank God. You have wheat. I don't know, maybe Sasquatch is good, I just think it sounds gross. So you don't suddenly have some totally different thing pop up. You see it each time and you recognize, I know what that is, that's wheat. But it's not the same wheat that came before. It's totally new. It's like every single one of you. I mean, you're all totally special snowflakes. You're all so unique and precious. And there is nobody else in the world like you, now or ever. Totally special and unique. But you're also yet another human. One of pushing 9 billion, I think. Something like that. So like, from one angle, you're just one of 9 billion. So how special can you be? But another, you will ask your mom, how special are you? You're incredibly precious, and there's no one ever like you. So which is it? It's both. Same thing with wheat. Now, in certain ways, if we look at that and we're just looking for the kind of stuff that my brain wants to look at, which is the dominoes to line them up, just material stuff that it sets up and then cause and effect makes this kind of stuff happen, it's a lot harder to find that kind of causation when you look at a harvest with wheat. Because it's not the same kernel. Maybe it didn't even come from the same stalk. Probably didn't even come from the same seed. Each year you have to throw a whole new seed down for that to come out. There are like bigger gaps in there. It makes it hard to see, like, how does this keep happening? And so in one way, the gaps make it harder to explain, but in another way, there's an even deeper kind of unity. You just know it's the same thing. It's wheat. It's wheat. It's wheat. It's an apple. It's an apple. It's an apple. It's a tomato. It's a tomato. It's a tomato. In exile, the greatest promises Yahweh gives to his people come in the time of their most fruitless stage, most hopeless, burned out, busted out stage. God's great promises come. And in that, they can take encouragement from their past. Yahweh was faithful to rescue us from Egypt. Yahweh was faithful to feed us in the wilderness. Yahweh stayed with us even when we were ungrateful. Yahweh saw us through the time of Judges. Yahweh brought us King David and rescued us from the Philistines. Yahweh is faithful. They can draw some encouragement from that, but they're in a season where if they're going to really hope for the promises of the future, that's not enough. The whole thing is totally, fully rooted in the presence, the power, the aliveness, and the freshness of Yahweh. And if Yahweh is not alive, is not powerful, and is not present, there is no hope. That's where the root lies. That's where the genuine power for his promise to be anything more than just words comes from. And now, this newness, this promise comes from Yahweh. I will put my law, not on stone, not just codified in laws and practices and social conventions, the things that allow us to pass on a culture. So it's not just the car. With the history that you can track from this thing to this thing, and now we switch out this part and we adapt this. It's not just a culture embodied in practices that you can then twist and adapt and change and renew and even reinvent. It's not just that. There's another element to it. It's going to be totally new and totally fresh each and every time, because it's not just going to be the thing passed down through history. It's going to be a specific, unique act done in the hearts and inner being of every single person that's part of it. And notice, when Yahweh promises this, says, I will put my law. It's the same law. The same law. There's continuity with the law that was given at Sinai. It's the same law. But I'm going to take it and I'm going to do something different with it. Instead of it just being passed down as your law, it shapes how you do harvest and how you do money and these sort of cultural practices. It's going to be a part of who you are. Which makes me think of Jesus' words in the Sermon on the Mount. When he's getting up on the mountain, have you noticed? Oh, okay, sorry. This is happening on the fly, but if I don't chase it, I'm just... So, where did Mary and Joseph go right after Jesus was born and Herod was trying to kill all the kids? Egypt. And where did Yahweh call his son out of? Out of Egypt. When he comes out of Egypt, where does Jesus go? He spends, in Matthew, he spends 40 days wandering around in the wilderness, fasting. How long did Israel wander in the wilderness? 40 years. When he then comes to enter into his ministry, he's baptized in the Jordan River by John the Baptist. Where did Israel cross over to enter into the Promised Land? The Jordan River. Then he starts teaching and preaching, and when he goes to give his teaching and his preaching, where does he go to do it? He goes up a mountain, like Moses goes up Sinai to give the law. So over and over again, you're seeing that what happens in the Old Testament is laying the groundwork, the foundation for what Jesus is going to fulfill. And Jesus takes it and brings the fullness of the thing to every bit of it. And up here on the Sermon on the Mount, giving his new law, talking about this kind of stuff, says, don't think that I've come to abolish it. I've come to fulfill it. I've come to breathe life into it. Put flesh and bone on it. So it's not just something on stone that sits over you and oppresses you because of your inability to carry it out perfectly. It's something that wells up from inside of you as I'm giving you life. See, our imaginations regarding the cyclical nature of things are lacking. Because especially here, we're so used to having whatever we want whenever we want it, especially when it comes to food. We're so used to having tomatoes whenever we want them. I have never, ever, in my 37 years of life, thought, you know what I need on my sandwich? A tomato. But, darn it, they're not in season, so I guess I'm going to have to wait 6 months for my tomato. Never once have I felt like that. What do? I go to the grocery store and I buy a tomato. But you know how they do that? Because that's not how it actually works. You know how you have tomatoes all the time? They grow them down in Florida, where the weather year-round allows them to grow them. But the thing about that is Florida's soil is terrible for tomatoes. That's not where tomatoes are meant to grow. It's sandy soil. Tomatoes can't get the kind of nutrients they want. So what we get most of the time is something that looks like a tomato and kind of tastes like a tomato, but doesn't actually have the inner nutrients of a tomato. We get a simulacra. The outward form is there, but the inner life and nutrition is not actually there in most of our tomatoes. We're so used to that. And because of that, we don't get the cyclical nature of things, about how the world works. But this cyclical stuff about the harvest, and then planting, and then it laying fallow, and planting, and then waiting, and then the harvest, gives us a much better picture, a much better invitation to see the fullness of what the Scriptures are promising for us this morning, because that's a better picture of the core pattern of our faith. Have you noticed that our faith is not structured like a bunch of dominoes lined up here? Do this, do this, do this, and then everything will be great and you'll build the kingdom of God on earth. It doesn't work that way. We try to make it that all the time, but it will not work. Why? Because that's not how reality really is. And the pattern of our faith is not structured like this. What is the structure, the pattern of our faith? It's life, death, and resurrection. That's how we enter into the fullness of the kingdom. And Jesus goes first to make a way for us, and then invites us to follow him. So I don't think it's any surprise that when Jesus calls us to this in our text this morning, in our Lenten journey towards the cross, he uses the image of a seed. Unless a seed, if it just remains that, it bears no fruit. But if it dies, it falls to the ground. Then it produces a harvest. It's a picture of who Jesus is and what Jesus does. And he also says this: if you are my followers, especially in this world, this will be the structure and the pattern of your life as well. you love your life, grasp onto it, you're going to lose it. But if you let it go, die to yourself and me, then you'll find your life. The fullness of your life. Not just, I did the right things, I never ticked off the wrong people, and I never made any bad mistakes that came back and haunted me. I went to the right school, I worked hard every single day, and I got good grades, and I learned how to do a job interview. I killed the job interview, and I got a good job, made enough money, and had kids, and then boom. It's not just what that kind of cause and effect stuff. He knows. And it's also not just, oh man, I kind of made a mistake, I learned my lessons, do it better next time, I'll get a better result next time. That's the hard thing. I got burned out. By the way, though, I know part of this one too, 34. Some of the things that just worked for me and my personality through my 20s just stopped working and got burned out. You gotta learn something, do it better. And that next time, no, it's not just the kind of life you can build there. You lose your life for Christ's sake, you will find a life with an eternal, transcendent, eternal kind of quality to it that you can never have on your own. If the seed, if the grain dies, falls to the ground, then it bears much fruit. This is how Jesus is glorified. You know, one of the words that we use for Jesus is logos, which is a Greek word that means word. So this is the word at the beginning of John's Gospel. The Gospel that we're reading from this morning. It starts with, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That word is translated word, you follow, is logos, which does mean word, but not just that, it means structure, it means pattern, it means reason, purpose, rationality, all of these things, the structure, the pattern, the reason, the rationality of life, of God. But the foundation of everything truly real and eternal. This is Jesus. And when this God shows up, the life he lives follows the pattern of life, death, and resurrection. And when we join in that, and our life is joined to his, and ours start to take on the pattern of life, death, and resurrection, that's exactly how he gives us communion with the eternal bliss and goodness and power and truth and beauty of God. It's not just a passing on of laws and practices. Like, it's one thing, folks, right? And you know, you live in the same world I do. You hear the same questions from your friends that I do. You wrestle with the same doubts that I do. And so you know, it's one thing, especially in this kind of world, to have Christians that never say bad words. And listen to good, wholesome music. And never break the rules. And show up at the right place and at the right time. And say the right things when they're there. And go through the motions. And even receive the bread and the wine. That's one thing. It's another to have a whole community of people that don't just do the right things, that aren't just the car, but are the wheat. That over and over and over again find a surprising, miraculous life welling up from within us. It's one thing to have people that just, go and just do the right things. It's another one to have people who genuinely love as God loves and see the world as God sees, and so then see God's life in Jesus Christ acting through us in the world. That's the kind of thing that will make a difference. That's the kind of thing that will make people that are so closed off to even thinking about the faith go, well, maybe. Let's talk a little bit more. So when Jesus took time to heal the bleeding woman, because of her ailment, had not just been bodily sick, but had been totally excluded from her community, was not whole in any sense of the word, and heals her, restores her bodily and to her community, when Jesus takes the time to do that. And then later, when Jesus isn't around, but Peter and Paul and the apostles take the time to care for the poor and the sick and to heal them. Is it the same harvest? Is it the same love and power making each one happen? Is it something old, or is it something new? So, one of the quotes that I like about Christianity comes from a guy named G.K. Chesterton. And he says, the Christian faith, because of how we think about things, and who Jesus is, who's fully God and fully human. Not some like mixture, not some like God-human mutant. Fully God and fully human. Because of how we think about things, old and new, Totally fresh, totally new, but it's the same covenant. He says, we are like people that have a robust love for the red, and a robust love for the white, and a healthy hatred of the pink. Because it's not just some mushy. So when it comes to charity and love and grace, when genuine Christ-likeness wells from within you, is that an old thing, or is that a new thing? Well, in one sense, it's right for you to say it's a new life, which is what we talk about, being born again. Having new, do you? We do. Evangelicals do, and that's my heritage. But scripturally, that's what we talk about, having that kind of new life, born again. And it is new life. It's totally new. It's totally fresh. And there will never be another expression just like yours. But is it new? Yeah. But it's also old. So old you might even start to say, maybe a better word is eternal. The Lord's Prayer that we pray. Is it old? Yeah. It's been around for millennia. There are people thousands of years ago that said it in Aramaic. In Greek. And this morning we're going to say it in languages that didn't even exist back then. So is it also new? It's ancient. But when it wells from genuine worship and life, the praise of God that Jesus offers to the Father, now coming through our hearts and our minds and our lips, it's totally new. Jesus trusted his life to the Father in the face of total fruitlessness. Looking at the cross. How is that? What we don't have here is, we don't have renovation when Jesus faces the cross coming up on Lent. In the upper room, Jesus does not say, all right, so I think we've pushed this plan about as far as it's going to go, and if we keep it up, they're probably going to murder me. So maybe it's time to back up and come at this from a little bit different angle and see if we can get some better results. It's not that. This is what we're facing, but this is what it is. This is what I've been sent here to do. This is the cup that's mine to drink. So shouldn't I drink it? And he trusts completely, in an act of utter faith, trusts his life, his very body and existence to God. And God looks at that. As his broken body is sitting in the tomb, he looks at what the world has done to him and says no, and rises him to new life. In a situation where Jesus was sitting like exile, but worse, sitting in the tomb, when there's nothing about the external circumstances, they could say, well, hey, you know what, if we just keep it up long enough and work hard enough and sweat and make sure we're smart and our strategy is just right and our marketing and our branding is spot on, then it's going to work. And there's nothing about the circumstances of the tomb that says this is going to be okay. But God looks at what the world has done and says no, and raises him to a new, stronger, fresher life than he had even before that. And so when you look at your checkbook, showing my age, it's scary how it's happened. There's a few of you here, and everybody's like, what's a checkbook? How do you write one of those? When you look at your app with your bank account, and you compare that to your budget, you go, there's just not enough here, but here's an opportunity for giving in an act of faith and sacrifice you give. When you look at how you use your time and your energy, and you find yourself in a place where your circumstances say nothing but there is no more hope here. Your faithfulness has led to failure, and there's nothing about this that's going to be good, but God looks at it and says, no, it brings surprising hope and life and strength and joy to you. Is that old life, or is that new? I invite you this week, if you would even longer, maybe for the rest of your lives, to live right in the center of that question. Because it's one thing to have tomatoes that outwardly look like tomatoes. It's another to have the thing with the real nourishment in life. It's one thing to have Christians that say the right things, that show up at the right time to the right places, do the right things, and avoid all the wrong things. That's one thing. It's another to have people who genuinely have the life of Christ welling up inside them, and that is the overflow of what's driving the way that they act and speak. And so as you go, as you come now and receive, the life of Christ in tangible elements. Find that flowing through you, living in this question.